Hi, welcome back to the Desk Corner. In today's video, I'm going to be making some artwork based on reference photos I took on my weekend trip not too long ago. If you would like to see some footage from that trip, I did make a video about it, so I will link that down below in the description box. And I did take some reference photos, which was exciting for me because I never really take my own reference photos, and I thought it might be a bit inspirational to create some artwork based off of those. So as you guys see, I have my Strathmore toned gray mixed media paper here in front of me, and I've got a bunch of different charcoal pencils. The first reference photo I took that I want to make an artwork from is a seagull, and I changed it to grayscale in Lightroom. So I edited the photo, and I think I want to try out this toned gray paper because I bought this several weeks ago and I haven't tried it out yet for you guys on my channel. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into that. Oh, I guess before I should mention what I have here. My General's charcoal, which I'm not sure yet if I want to use those. I've got my white charcoal by Pasler, which they sent to me kindly, and I made a review on those not too long ago. And I also have my favorite charcoal ever, which is the Cretacolor Nero oil-based charcoal. So I have a few options here, and we're just going to see what I come up with. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I decided to sketch with my white charcoal pencil because it's way less risky. I would never sketch with my black charcoal pencil. I am way too terrified to ever try that. The thing is though, I was freehanding and I accidentally drew the bird too close to the top of the page. Oops. So the head ended up being a little bit too close to the body. The neck was not long enough. This is an issue that I discovered later and didn't realize as I was sketching in the moment, even though I thought things looked a little off. Now that's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I did realize this problem, and I guess I would have had to erase the entire head to fix it anyways. I was too lazy at that point, even if I had realized. I ended up drawing in the little ledge that the seagull was standing on in my photo as well, just to fill out the page better. I did struggle a bit with the eye because it kept looking almost like maybe some type of evil bird or something, and I couldn't get the eye right at first, the head shape and the beak. So I'm not sure if I ended up getting that part right in the end, but that's okay. I think he looks pretty realistic, he or she. I just finished my sketch right here. I just freehanded this, and I just wanted to pause because I wanted to ask you guys something kind of funny. If you're an artist who has been freehanding for a really long time and also using other methods of sketch to make the process faster, when you do freehand, are you surprised that you're even able to anymore? Because that's how I feel. I don't enjoy freehanding since it takes longer than transferring by tracing or something nowadays, since I used to freehand so much when I was younger, and now I like to focus more on the shading or coloring process of things more, so I speed up as much as I can. But often when I do freehand, I remember how I actually do know how to, and it always kind of surprises me, and it's pretty funny. Now this isn't perfect or anything. I'm pretty sure the placement of the eye and maybe the head is a little bit off here, so I might work on this part a little more, make the head a little flatter, but this is what we have so far. Let's go ahead and get straight to the shading part now. At this point, I decided to go in and start working with the actual Cretacolors as well, and so I sketched in where the darker shadowed areas would be and kind of created a bit of a texture that looks like feathers. Now the thing about the Cretacolors are that they don't get quite as dark as like normal charcoal, like General's charcoal, especially because with General's charcoal, the soft is going to be extremely black. And with the Cretacolor oil-based charcoal, the soft and the extra soft are quite dark, but they still won't be as dark as the normal like General's charcoal. However, since I'm working on a toned gray paper, and since I'm using white as well, there is a lot of contrast, and so I don't think having the darks not be quite as dark as they could be affected this drawing too much. I did have some issues with the ledge, as I always do with geometric shapes. I don't know why, I've always had that issue. But I think it worked out alright in the end. I could have probably shaded it a little bit better. The ledge I kind of just added in, first of all because his feet have to be standing on something, but second of all because I felt like the bottom of the page looked a little bit empty and I didn't want to actually add in any sort of background. So with my Cretacolors, one of the good things about them is they don't actually produce a lot of dust or mess. So yes, the side of my hand was a little bit dirty while I was working on this, but in comparison to normal charcoal, you don't see a lot of dust all over the page. You guys would be able to see it by now on the camera. There isn't a huge amount of dust or debris, which is good if you prefer not to have a very messy experience when you're working on artwork, or if your main qualm with charcoal is that it might just be a little bit too messy for you, and it doesn't make that terrible scratching noise that I cannot stand with regular charcoal as well. And then on top of that, these pencils sharpen very easily and they don't lose their point quite as easily as normal charcoal. So because of that, I'm able to get in those little details without much issue. But this video is not a review of Cretacolors, even though I wish Cretacolor would sponsor me oh so badly. It's actually a little bit more difficult to talk about the paper itself because this is essentially the same paper as the Strathmore Toned Tan and the Strathmore Toned Blue, both of which I have already tried before and even made videos about on my channel. So of course the actual texture of the paper is something I've already discussed and I don't really want to repeat myself more, but I will say that it does have a little bit of a funny texture on the surface and it almost has hair-like texture. I have gotten used to it now since I've been using this paper a lot, whether it be the gray, the blue, or the tan. And the thing is, I actually do like this paper, you guys. I'm not sure if it falls into the category of my favorite paper ever, but I think that I realize charcoal is a medium that really seems to thrive on this paper, at least the charcoal pencils that I'm using in this video. I think that the paper allowed me to layer enough, but also at the same time, it wasn't too textured to the point where I couldn't add in details, and the actual texture didn't bother me very much while using charcoal. One thing I ran into while using colored pencils is that sometimes the texture showed through a little bit, which I didn't like, but I didn't notice this as much using the charcoal since the powder kind of covers the texture of the paper a bit more. So if you're considering this paper to use some sort of charcoal pencils on, I definitely recommend it for that. And I'm sure that any medium that includes black and white would look very good on this paper, but I think a white colored pencil might have the texture show through a little bit more. I actually do get a lot of comments regarding the eraser that I use that's on a stick, and that's the Tombow Mono Zero eraser. I do mention that sometimes in my videos and in the video description, but not all the time, so I thought it would be worthwhile to mention that. I have the round one, which is great for tiny details. I also have the rectangular one, which is a bit wider, but it works if you want to cover a larger area. These are kind of like mechanical pencils where you can refill the eraser and buy the refills separately. So in case you're wondering, that is the eraser I use, and yes, it's extremely helpful because other erasers are wide and you don't want to damage detail areas if you just need to erase a little portion. Back to my drawing here. Working on the legs was actually the most fun part for me. I think it's because they're a bit wrinkly and they have these weird textures and details, and I had a lot of fun trying to create some of the highlights. One thing I did notice is it was a little bit hard to blend the white charcoal in with the Cretacolors at some points. It was a little harder to do it this way versus using the white charcoal with normal charcoal pencils, because oil-based charcoal is a bit harder to blend. It's a bit harder, like literally. It's not quite as soft or easy to spread around, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Using General's charcoal, I would have been able to mix the black and the white a lot, but since the background is toned gray, I felt like I could use the background instead of having to mix too much gray, if that makes sense. If you guys have been on my channel long enough, you know that I really do enjoy creating artwork of birds for whatever reason. So this seagull, of course, was something that inspired me when I took this photo, which is by no means any type of professional photo. I am not a photographer, but me taking the photo inspired me. However, I also ran into a random rooster on my trip, which if you haven't seen the vlog video, I recommend you go watch it because it's kind of entertaining. And I ran into a rooster. I tried to get a photo of him. He didn't really allow that to happen, so I caught him on video instead. but it did remind me a little bit of fall for some reason, and I thought it would be fun in the near future, since we are coming upon the fall season, to create an artwork of a rooster. Obviously not the one I took a photo of, but otherwise just any rooster I find a good photo of I think would work just fine. If you guys think that's a good idea for a future artwork, let me know, and if you have an idea of what medium I should use also, I would be curious to know what you guys think. So to finish off this drawing here, I ended up going in with the white charcoal a lot because I was trying to brighten him up a bit, make him pop out of the page more, make the eye pop a bit more, darken up the actual iris, or I mean the pupil of the eye as much as I could. I wanted to create the illusion of there being more of a shadow at the bottom underside of the seagull and then it becoming brighter at the top. But I did start to max out on layers. So when you start to max out on layers with charcoal, it becomes a bit harder to add anything over the top. And at this point, I was kind of maxing out and just trying to add a few details here and there so that I could get that nice polished, finished look. I'm not sure if it turned out quite as polished as I would like it to, but the great thing about charcoal art is that you can do it rather quickly and you can get away with it being a little more sketchy sometimes and not entirely polished, because that's just something that comes with the style that you get with this medium. So here it is. What do you guys think? I guess we will talk about this more in the outro. Okay, you guys, here is my finished seagull. I think that he's a little bit funny looking. The neck almost seems like it should have been just a little bit longer, and it's kind of funny looking at it because I feel like something looks off in the head neck area. It is because I freehanded this and I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the freehand sketch, as you guys saw. So that's okay though, I've kind of accepted it. I still think that this drawing turned out well, and I do like this toned gray paper. I didn't add any background because I just like the look of the seagull standing on this ledge and popping out against the background. And if any of you guys were curious how the Strathmore toned gray paper looks with charcoal or white charcoal on top, I guess you could see pretty clearly from my drawing how this toned gray paper looks, and I do like the look of it. It is different than the toned blue, which is more of a greenish gray, and if you haven't seen my review of that, I have a video up about that. If I remember to link it in the description down below, I will, but it's a more recent video that you could easily find anyways, and it's interesting because it just seems like that one is a different variation of gray as well as this one. But I did have a really fun time working on this paper. I think in the future I will use charcoal on this paper because I think it's probably the best way to utilize this paper is to use either charcoal or just like black of some medium, some other medium, because this is a mixed media paper. And I made a point to actually buy this online. I could not find it at any physical art shops near me. I mean, I only checked Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and I haven't been to a proper art store in a while. I've been meaning to go, but I haven't been in a while. But anyways, I'm getting off topic here. I had to actually find this online because in store I could only find the toned gray sketch paper, which is super thin, and so I wanted to actually get mixed media paper so I could do some of my finished artworks on it. So I'm happy that I did get to use this reference photo from Pismo Beach. If you haven't seen my beach vlog slash little bit of art vlog, I'll link that down below as well. A lot of people didn't see that one. Honestly, I just don't think travel vlogs like that would do super well on my channel, obviously, but there is some art in there, so it's not entirely irrelevant. But if you go and watch that video, you'll see the actual photo as well that I took. So this was a photo that I actually took, and I was super happy to actually work from a photo that I took, and I got some other inspiring pictures as well. So that's kind of a long outro, but I just felt like chatting with you guys, and I'm curious to know what you think of this seagull. Also, have you tried this toned gray paper? And I hope that you guys enjoyed watching me create this artwork. I will see you guys in the next video, and hopefully we could use some more of my reference photos in the future for future artworks. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm so happy to be back home creating art with you guys. I will see you guys in the next video next week. Bye!